One of the important aspects of item analysis is the discrimination power or discrimination index. But what is the discrimination index? Well, the discrimination index is a basic measure of the validity of an item or a test question. It is used to examine the students' responses to each of the test questions. The results of the analysis shows the ability of an item to distinguish between the students with the highest scores and those with the lowest scores. The range of the discrimination index is from 0.0 to 1.0. The higher the value, the more discriminating the item. A highly discriminating item proves that the students with higher scores did better than those with lower scores. Here are some steps in analyzing the discrimination index of the test items. Before we jump into the calculation, some initial steps need to be done. First, put the students' scores in a descending order. Next, take 27% of students with highest scores and put them in a group labeled as the upper group. Similarly, take 27% of those with the lowest scores and put them in a group labeled as the lower group. Next, count the number of students in each group who got the item correctly. For easier calculation, put the number in a table. Then, use the formula by Grunland and Lin 1990 to calculate the discrimination power. The formula is P equals RU minus RL divided by a half of T. RU is the number in the upper group who got the item correctly. RL is the number in the lower group who got the item correctly. And T is the total students in the upper group plus the lower group. Now we're going to jump right into the calculation. So suppose we have 75 students who have taken the test, and we have 20 students in the upper group and 20 students in the lower group. For item number 1, there are 18 students in the upper group got the item correctly, and 2 students in the lower group got the item correctly. In our case, RU is 18 and RL is 2. Now, since the actual value of T is 40, then a half of T would be 20. And so 18 minus 2 is 16 divided by 20 is equals 0.80. So the discrimination power of item number 1 is 0.80. Same thing for item number 2, we have 14 students in the upper group and 4 students in the lower group got the item correctly. So 14 minus 4 equals 10 divided by 20 equals 0.50. Item number 3, interestingly, none of the students in the upper group got the item correctly, while 5 students in the lower group got the item correctly. So 0 minus 5 will be equals minus 5 divided by 20 equals minus 0.25. For item number 4, 10 students in the upper group and 8 students in the lower group got the item correctly. So 10 minus 8 equals 2 divided by 20 equals 0.1. Item number 5, there are 9 students in the upper group and 4 students in the lower group got the item correctly. So 9 minus 4 equals 5 divided by 20 equals 0.25. Now that we have the discrimination value of each item, let's move on to the next step to interpret the value. This is where we're going to make a decision to whether we're going to use the item in the next test or not. According to the table, items with a value 0.40 or higher than 0.40 are very good items. Remember, the closer the value to 1.0, the more discriminating the item. For the items with a value of 0.30 to 0.39 are reasonably good items, however, it may be subject to improve. Meanwhile, items with a value of 0.20 to 0.29 are marginal or acceptable items. These items can be used in the next test, but some improvement need to be done. For items with a value of 0.0 to 0.19 are poor items. These items should not be used in the next test or should be revised before the next test. Lastly, items with a value below 0.0 or negative discrimination should not be used in the next test or should be rejected. If we go back to our previous test results, item number 1 is a very good item. It has the discrimination index of 0.80, so it can be used in the next test. Item number 2 is also a very good item, so it can be used in the next test. Item number 3, however, has a negative discrimination index of minus 0.25, so we should remove the item in the next test. Item number 4 has a poor discrimination index of 0.1, so we should remove or revise the item. Item number 5 has a marginal or acceptable discrimination index, so we can use the item in the next test. However, some necessary revision need to be done. After obtaining the final results, items that have very good and good discrimination power can be used in the next test. Meanwhile, items with marginal and poor discrimination power should be rejected or should be revised for the following possible issues. First, there might be some confusing sentences in the test questions, so the students do not understand the questions in some way. Second, there might be no right answer to the question, or it also might be due to the lack of teaching of the particular test question.